record to the cloud. All right. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for episode 7 of Black Coffee and Crime. So we've been doing this for 7 weeks straight, and you all have been with us for the entire time. So thank you for that. So again, my name is Brandy, and this is
Jackie. Hi, everyone.
That's Jackie. I noticed that we haven't been introducing ourselves. We just go in you know who I am,
right,
and just go from there, right? So yes, Brandy and Jackie, and this is Black Coffee and Crime. So we've decided to do something a little bit different, which is pre-record the show and then give it to you all. And then we're able to go back into the chats at 7 p.m. Central as normal and be able to interact with everybody. This is going to make it easier for whenever the world opens back up, as it's doing slowly. Our schedules are going to conflict, but we still want to be able to bring the show at 7 p.m. on Thursdays, even though that's not the most popular time to publish a podcast. It ain't. It's like prime time. Normally podcasts are done in the morning, but ain't nobody getting up. You working.
Yeah, I work mornings, and yeah.
So no one has time for that.
Okay, though.
Yeah, so we decided to do this. We're going to try this out. You'll still get the same content. And again, once we go back into the chats, we'll be chatting with you live when you watch the pre-recorded show, if that makes sense at all.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, so as for the church announcements, as we do every week, that is part of the church announcements. We're going to continue with that. And of course, at all times, be respectful to the other viewers and listeners, be respectful to us. These are our opinions. Some information will be omitted because there's rabbit holes that you go into and connections, and it's just a lot. If there's misinformation that we give, or if you know more about a subject or something else, you can always feel free to, pipe in, give it to us, message, whatever, and we'll respond in kind. So those are the church announcements as follows. Govern yourselves accordingly.
Govern yourselves accordingly.
Okay. So I'm going to let you start first on what you have found on Al Gore's internet. Because I got two. One's crazy as hell. And the other one's just very interesting on an international case that they finally found the killer. So go ahead first. Anything you found interesting on Al Gore's internet?
Al Gore's internet. I still think that's weird. I can't really recall. Most of a lot of studying on what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. What I did find out by going through that rabbit hole was the amount of sex trafficking is ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, that is probably happening around the corner.
Right.
Probably happening. I mean, I'm quite sure that someone, not that you know, I'm not saying that, but someone that you've seen is involved in it. It's so dramatically, it's so heartbreaking. So that was my rabbit hole. Okay. My rabbit hole was definitely starting off in our story and then just bouncing all around.
Yeah.
Regarding.
So that's why this one, I read about the story before. I watched videos about the story. So I was like, yeah, this is a good one. Until I thought I was like, this is a lot. I was almost to the point where I was like, we could just change the subject. But I was like, you just posted this again. You can't change it. But, we're going to go forward. But two things I found interesting on Al Gore's internet.
So what did you find? What you get?
One, do you remember, I guess it was 13 years ago, so 2007, May of 2007, Madeleine McCann, the little 3-year-old that was kidnapped in Portugal?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Her parents were from the UK. So the way that story goes is that they were on a holiday, as they call it over there, with some friends. They were at a resort. They felt like it was safe enough to...
Oh, you got some details on this?
Yes. They felt like it was safe enough to leave their child. They're both, because they had a set of twins that were 1, and Madeline was 3. they put the children to bed, and then they went like right outside the whole, not even outside the hotel, but just like on the terrace or whatever, terrace restaurant. They made sure that their kids were secure, as what they thought, in this hotel. They did leave the door unlocked, and that was because both couples would go back and check on their children. So like every half hour, one person would go back, and then the next kind of round robin it. Well, that was around 7 that they went to dinner. So they kept doing that all night. And around 10, Mrs. McCann, Madeline's mom, goes to the room. Madeline's gone. The twins are there, but Madeline is gone. This investigation from the Portugal police is just all over the place from the beginning.
Yes.
They are suspects. I won't lie, because I thought something was a little funny, because I'm judging, because I'm like, why are you going to leave your babies with a door unlocked? Like, just give the person the key. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, just give them the key. But, you know, hindsight being 2020, they probably thought about that later. You know, they thought we should have done something different later. So they leave. They eventually have to leave Portugal. They go back to the UK. Scotland Yard is involved. Well, there's been, you know, numerous pseudo sightings and clues and all this stuff. And none of those panned out until this past June. So this past June, Scotland Yard and the German police announced that they have a suspect.
Sure.
A suspect that they are quite sure that he is the one that murdered and raped Madeleine McCann. He is, let's see, Christian Brockner.
I really thought this was going to be unsolved. That's why I'm excited that you have some information about it, because it's been kind of like there's really nothing. They were hitting rock bottom, and they've been hitting rock bottom for years. So I'm really excited that you know. Right.
So his name is Christian Bruckner, and he is a serial rapist who was in pedophile chat rooms. He really didn't have like a certain MO as far as his victims. He was actually convicted in Germany. Well, a suspect, and at the time that she was abducted, he had already in 2005 committed a rape and murder of a 76-year-old woman. And the Portugal police didn't know about that. He hadn't been convicted yet. Portugal police did not know about that. So he was actually in the area. His phone pinged in the hotel when Madeleine was there. Yes. So I think he worked in the kitchen or something. And yeah. So they don't have a body. Right. But based on those things, at least for the past 2 years, they've been sure that this is the guy. Mm-hmm. So they're saying that Madeleine is definitely, they don't have the body, but they're, you know, because ongoing investigation, they can't really reveal what they do have, but they are strongly suspecting that she is no longer alive. And that's after 13 years, numerous, you know, sightings and
numerous,
all the stuff. Yeah. So her parents, you know, you can go back in interviews and stuff. They've never given up looking for her and searching for her. So now at this point, it's not quite over yet, but on June 28th is when they made that announcement that they had, found the suspect named Christian Brockner. He's a German national. But yeah. And one thing that they were saying was very interesting. I was just watching something on YouTube, and it said that there's a difference between a pedophile and a child molester. A pedophile has romantic feelings towards children. A child molester or a rapist that's about power more than emotion. So the fact that he would target elderly women and children, and there's 2 more children that he's suspected of abducting and murdering. Those are the differences. So he's not necessarily a pedophile, he's just a rapist.
He's a rapist, a molester. Okay.
Right. So that's one. What was that?
I said, that's good to know. I did not know the difference between, I mean, I just put them in the same category, but that's good to know. And it makes sense now that I think.
Yeah. So a pedophile is someone who, in you know, it's kind of crazy to say, but a pedophile doesn't necessarily have to always, those emotions don't have to manifest physically. They could just be attracted to the kids and not like do anything to them. It's still kind of, you know, but there's a difference in that. But yeah, so that's an update on Madeleine McCann. And I was like, that wow. We definitely talk about that. Now the second thing is crazy as hell. Out of Florida. Now, you know, when Florida enters the program.
I think that some of that info you was going to speak on.
Yes. So Florida has entered the program.
As usual.
So was this July or was it August? Let me go back to the story. So basically, lady is in the line at Burger King. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And she orders $40 worth of stuff at Burger King. Okay.
Okay.
She gets angry that her order is taking too long. She like spazzes out on the employees, blah, blah, blah. They go back and forth. People say, we can refund your money and you could go.
Right.
She's like, that's fine, but I'm bringing my man back. And he's going to take care of this. Well, she brings her husband back and his name is, her name is Ashley Mason. She's 31. Mm-hmm. Her husband's name is, or boyfriend is named Kelvis Rodriguez Torme. I don't know anybody whose name is Kelvis. Kelvis. So that possibly means that the daddy's name was Kevin, but they were Elvis fans, and they said, there you go. Kelvis Rodriguez Torme. He's 37. He goes back up there. He gets into it with the guy who works there. His name was Desmond Armand Joshua, 22 years old. They have some words, and in the end, Kelvin shoots this man and kills him over $40 worth of Burger King food because his wife or girlfriend said, you need to come take care of this. Witnesses were like, you know, it was taking longer than usual. But hey, it's Burger King. Okay, so when you order this woman, if you've seen a picture of this woman, she didn't look like she was ordering combos of nothing. She wouldn't order no combos. Because you know combos is like $9.
Yeah.
With the small drink at Burger King. Because I ordered the Impossible Burger. And my total was like, the Impossible Burger by itself is $6.
Yes, it is.
You put that in a combo, you talking about $12. Because you want a big drink. You know what I'm saying? You want to, you know, top. And it's Florida. So you know she was ordering, she looked like she ordered like 8 Whoppers.
I'm just going to say she got the Whopper, no cheese.
No cheese. Yeah. 3 with onions and the other ones with no tomato. Mayonnaise on 6 of them. Like, see, Burger King shouldn't have that slogan, you can have it your way, because people complicate stuff. Look, take this mayonnaise, and what you do is you scrape it off, okay? That's what you're going to do. But anyway, yeah, he shoots this poor kid who had only been working about 3 or 4 days over
He had just started there?
Yes. His name was Desmond Armand Joshua. So in the article that I posted on our page on Facebook, you can see the actual arrest record. So his Kelvis's arrest record is plain there, all the explanations, some of it's redacted. I don't know why they do that. But yeah, you can see his arrest record. As far as Ashley, who was the one that called Kelvis to the scene, she has been arrested, but they haven't announced what she's charged with at this point, but she is charged in connection with that. So, yeah, that's some craziness coming out of Florida. This is why I have...
This is why Florida always on in the news for stuff like this.
This is why I can't go to Florida.
It's always...
This is why I can't go to
Florida. No.
Florida is the equivalent to the biblical Babylon to me. I ain't going. I ain't going. They got crocodiles, cocaine, Russians, and crazy ass people. Every time you open the news, open a browser, it's Florida. You got the dudes who, it was two gay guys that one of them was dressed as a fur animal or something that did something to his boyfriend. It just be crazy stuff.
So those that fur fetish people?
Yes.
Fetish people?
Yes. And they did something crazy. One did something crazy to the other because of some dumbass reason, and
he killed him.
Killed him. Florida. I don't know what's going on with Florida, but everything in the world is wrong, and it happens in Florida.
Yes, it does.
Yes. So I refuse to go there for reasons like this. Now, yeah. So this week, I said that we was going to talk about this crazy scandal that happened in Omaha, Nebraska in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was thinking sex scandal, sex trafficking kind of ties into what's going on now with the ring that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were running, and all the celebrities and dignitaries and politicians and bigwig people who are involved in that.
What the mess?
Okay, so the biggest rabbit hole I fell down. Okay. Now, this happened in Omaha, Nebraska, and the story broke wide open in late 1988.
Yes.
Now, the way it started was actually as a fraud and embezzlement case.
Yes.
And because of that, they started looking at this guy a little bit different and all the connections that he had and why he had these connections. Now, the guy involved, his name is Larry E. King Jr., not the CNN announcer, not that guy. So, not that guy. Let's just put that out there. Not that Larry King. So his name is Lawrence E. King. They call him Larry. Well, he is this big fish in a small pond.
Yes, he is.
And he was the manager of the Franklin Community Federal Credit Union. Okay. And he had been working there for about 17 years as of 1988 when he was arrested. Well, when they closed the bank down. And they opened that credit union in a predominantly Black neighborhood to kind of balance the scales of home ownership and business loans and things like that. At the time of his arrest or indictment, the bank should have only had $2.5 million in assets.
Yes.
Okay. However, they looked at the books, and this man had at least $40 million that was missing going through this bank. $40 million in 1988.
That's a lot.
That's almost $100 million right now.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it doubled plus some. So Larry King is got he's married. He had a son. He has a house that is $5,000 a month in mortgage in Omaha. $5,000 in 1988 is about $11,000 right now. He has a house in Washington, D.C. next to, I believe it was the Venezuelan embassy.
Wow.
He's a bank manager.
He's a bank manager.
Bank manager in Omaha, Nebraska. He stays at the Beverly something in Beverly Hills when he visits. He spends $1,500 worth a month on flowers. He spends lavishly. He shops when he's in DC. He would shop at an exclusive grocery store, and they said that he would come in there and buy caviar and champagne and premium cuts of meat. And they're the clerks in the store were he wasn't buying for dinner. He was buying for a party.
Right.
Okay. He is playing host to the elite in Washington.
Elite of the elite.
Right. How though? How and why? So in 1984, he one of the things that he said that he was this operatic singer or whatever. Although he had the size, he was a fairly circular fellow. Yeah, so he sings the national anthem of the 1984 Republican convention.
But a bank manager.
The bank manager.
Wow.
He makes numerous contributions to different organizations. He was a Democrat that converted to the GOP. He makes, anything from like AIDS research to campaigning for politicians. He does this, okay? In 1988, before the scandal broke, he hosted a party in New Orleans at the convention there for the Republican Party. He hosted them. The entire convention, he hosted a party. He rented out this warehouse.
Bank.
And yeah. And
he got with this.
Right. And I just want you guys to keep in mind that he is a bank manager. His annual salary was $17,000 a year. The party in New Orleans cost us $100,000. How you do that?
Where is it coming from?
How you do that? So this is a black man, by the way, in Omaha, Nebraska, in 1988.
Yeah. See, that's the even bigger key word. Omaha, Nebraska. Bank. Let's just forget the bank. Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes.
I went to Omaha, Nebraska. There's nothing there. Not a light. We drove for 2 hours in pitch black at 8 p.m. at night, and I couldn't see nothing. I swear Jeepers Creepers was over there in them fields and them cornfields, because there's nothing but cornfields everywhere. There's nothing there. It smells, the whole city smells like shit. There's nothing there.
Cornfields and cows.
Cows.
So I've never been there. My sister-in-law's father lives in Lincoln, but I think they've been to Omaha, like driving through. And one of the things my brother said about Nebraska is that they almost ran out of gas, and they looked around. It was like nothing. And, so apparently that's one of the places you make sure you have a full tank at all time. Like you stop at every gas station, because there's no, it's the kind of place. I don't know if you've ever seen Children of the Corn.
Yes, that's exactly.
You expect Malachi to come out the bushes somewhere?
That's exactly what it looks like. That's why I keep saying Omaha, because there's no one or nothing there. It's so plain. I'm talking about the city is like, it's like you've been surrounded by nothing but cornfields. We were for about an hour, and then all of a sudden we saw 10 people, and that was it.
And you went there like within the last year or so, right?
Yes.
So it hasn't been too long. So we're talking almost 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years ago. In 1988, a little bit more.
There's really nothing there.
So what you saw was developed.
Yes, it's developed.
Since 1988. So Larry King, making his $17,000, is paying for all this stuff. Basically, he was running a Ponzi scheme, and he got greedy. So the National Credit Union Association at one time cautioned him, like in 1978, well, no, not even 1978, about 5 years before, so about 1983-ish, cautioned him about what was going on at that bank, like something's not right.
Yes.
Well, he had so many friends in high places that he had like senators and congressmen like writing back to this federal agency, like, hey, he's cool, he's good, he's a stellar guy, he's on the up and up, and he's on his way up. So again, why is this bank manager, who is just like, seems to be like a hangers on, why is he so popular with these people? Well, when the bank was finally audited, they found separate sets of books, and it's like almost $40 million that he had embezzled and committed fraud. It's like 40 counts of embezzlement and fraud, federal counts. Okay, that was August, I believe, of late summer 1988. Well, a couple months before that, a social worker found out some things about some children that she was in charge of, and she took it to the state agency. Let me see what the name of the agency was. Well, anyway, she takes it to the state agency, and this is where we're gonna omit, because there's a lot of names in here. So I will be posting some YouTube videos, and you guys are more than welcome to dive down this rabbit hole and get all these names, because it's a lot. Okay, but the social worker finds that there's some abuses going on. These foster children in the foster care system are making some serious allegations against Larry King, the sheriff, the newspaper publisher. There was a congressman. They called them what was their name? They had a name for them, and I wrote it down. This is what I get. They had a name for them, like the something 5. But it was like 5 men that were involved in this. And these were high-powered men, and they basically kept a lid on everything. So at every turn, they were shutting it down. The sheriff's department was like, yeah, there's not enough evidence to bring anything. We don't find any abuses happening with these kids. They're all drug addicts, and they've had bad homes. So, they're just, making these accusations.
They're covering it, baby.
Right. So basically what it came down to was Larry King was basically the plug for these kids.
Yes.
For trafficking these kids. It is alleged, and I'm going to say alleged because none of this stuff went to trial. Some of this went to trial, but most of it was the accusers going to trial for perjury, but the actual perpetrators never went to trial. Never. So Larry King was supposedly the plug for these people. He would take the kids, foster kids, recruit them, and they would have sex parties and orgies. Some of them would just be, there would be a rule no penetration, but they would have some sexual activities going on at these parties. They would give them alcohol and drugs. And, these kids know that in this small machine, this political power machine, no one was going to believe them. They're foster kids. They're coming from, some of them were recruited from Boys Town. And Boys Town is a famous Catholic foster system there. And so some of them were recruited from there. And we know about stuff that happened in the Catholic Church and how that was covered up. So he's actually taking some of these kids on a private plane to Washington, D.C. There are receipts of flight manifests with 5 to 7 unnamed passengers going to D.C. Remember, he had a condo or a townhouse in D.C. Why would the bank manager with no political position be able to have a townhouse next to an international embassy? Why would he need that? How could he afford that?
I'm just gonna say, how could he even afford that? The private jet, the townhouse. How?
Because he was supposedly accepting payments for all of this and running that through the bank. So when they're looking at these assets and how are these deposits being made, they were faking deposit slips and artificially aging them.
It sounds like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a movie. When I was like, this is like a real life movie.
Right. But get this. Not only was he taking them to Washington, these kids were given private tours of what? The White House in the middle of the night. The middle of the night. The guy that was his partner was a guy named Craig Spence. Yes. Craig Spence, I believe, was worked for the CIA at one point, and he was the one, his contact in Washington, and he was the one that was getting these kids in and out of the White House. Now, interesting thing, several of these kids, there's one kid called Paul Bonacci, and I'll post one of his videos, just long videos of a jail interview that he did. He describes some pretty high up people being at these parties and what they did. One of the things that he said, now I don't know if it's true or not, but he said it in the video, is that our former president, George H.W. Bush, was in attendance at one of these parties. And he described that he had procured the company of a young African-American boy, and they went into a closet. He don't know what happened, but they went into a closet.
But they went to the closet.
Yes. So this goes as high as White House. Now, at the time that this was going first started, this president, former president, but at the time he was also a CIA director.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So him being the CIA director, I believe one of his national security advisors, while he was president, a guy that was one of his security advisors was also in attendance and name dropped as well. Yeah, that's Paul Bonacci. He was a teenager during this time. They arrested him because he made these accusations. He was jailed.
Oh, yeah.
But then he sued and he was given $1 million because what they did was the Senate, the state Senate, congressmen, they shut this down. They had trials again for the accusers, and it was like a kangaroo court. There was like no evidence whatsoever to convict these people of perjury because they wouldn't recant their testimonies. That's why they were prosecuted, because, okay, I said that you did this and I won't take it back. You can't prosecute me for that. If I said you did it, you did it. You got to prove otherwise. So, yeah. So, keeping with that, Paul Bonacci names all these people, and you've got, the video is about 30 minutes. And if you've got time, you're going to just dive deep down this rabbit hole. So he name drops all these people. There was a former CIA operative or FBI investigator who believed what was going on, and he went to investigate, and he set up a meeting to get photos from one of the official photographers that would be at these parties and all this stuff. So taking pictures, of course, because pedophiles, like, they're not, when they're in with their own kind, they share stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say, I would think there would be some kind of photos or some kind of, there's proof. And I know that there's probably like a strict, like, hey, this doesn't, but they're all like, that they're all mingling amongst each other. We all do the same thing.
And they exchange photos. They chat online. This is how a lot of them get caught. They chat online. They exchange photos. They have stuff on their computers. All of that, because it's like, oh, I have to show you my new toy, my new thing. So there were pictures. So this guy named Gary Cardori went to retrieve pictures about this pedophile ring. Well, he was supposed to meet this guy in like Chicago or something. So he had a private plane, like a crop duster plane or whatever. So he and his son, who was like school age kid, get on the plane. They go to get the pictures. Well, when they're on their way back, mysteriously, the plane goes down in a farm field, killing both him and his son.
Of course.
So all the evidence that he had collected is now supposedly destroyed. The FAA? Federal Aviation? Yeah, FAA. They ruled it as he lost control of his plane for an unknown reason. They really didn't do any investigation. So that's like one of many deaths in this whole thing, because everybody dies. anyone who has any real evidence, the teenagers, the people who are accusing, people investigating, they died. One of them was the brother of Alicia Owen. Alicia Owen was one of the accusers. She was a teenager who lived in Omaha, and she accused the sheriff, Robert Wadman, of raping her at one of these parties. He, of course, denied it. She got pregnant, and she was convicted of perjury because she refused to recant her story. So she does 4 years. Total.
What?
She does 4 years for perjury.
Girl.
Because they are saying that she, because they're saying that she lied on the sheriff, but they never had a trial to determine whether or not she was lying. Her trial was because the reason why there was a trial, because she was brought up on charges for perjury. She does 4 years.
That one coming. That was legit my response. I did not think you were gonna tell me that.
Yeah.
We did.
So they never tried him or investigated Robert Wadman for the alleged crime. But she committed perjury because she told this story. But again, the sheriff was in on this. She said that she had been going to these parties since she was 14 years old.
Wow.
14. She did have the baby. The baby supposedly looks just like the sheriff. But she's out of the limelight. She's, living her life. After that.
But, I mean, what do you do when you feel like nobody's going to ever believe you? What do you do when you're unheard? You go duck off. There's no reason. And then you spend time in jail behind this? Yeah, you're going to go. It's going to be. And then she can't win. She's not going to win.
She wouldn't have been able to win anything involved in that. So that's just the craziness that was going on. Now, it was her brother her younger brother who actually, as a scare tactic and to put pressure on her, he was arrested for like a minor car theft charge or whatever. They put him in jail. While he was in custody, they say that he committed suicide. Although he had numerous injuries to him that had nothing to do with him hanging himself. So the death toll is adding up, but people involved, the authorities involved are like, nah, this doesn't have anything to do with nothing. None of this is connected.
Right. Because most of the time they kept saying it's a hoax. Mm-hmm. I was upset, so they're just making this up. It's not true. It's not true. We have no proof. What they were saying is, what I kept reading, like all of them were saying was, there's no proof, so it's a hoax. It was kind of like, well, y'all can't prove it, so this is what it is.
But apparently Nebraska hasn't stopped in its, it's still a place of high numbers of sex trafficking. I just saw this video on YouTube, and it was actually a newscast. And they were talking about how in 2017, this is when the article or this was recorded in 2017, 800 people or children or whatever had been trafficked in Nebraska. Now you're thinking Nebraska, this is the Midwest, this is the best of America. But I think what happens in these places is that you have these small towns in these what they call flyover states that we're thinking, if you live in a big city, you're thinking that everything is everything. And, you're talking about farmland and state fairs and, homemade jelly, but they have such a power, I don't even know the term that I'm trying to use, but they have such a circle of power there. And you have the sheriffs and all these people with money and power that they hold it, and they hold the towns hostage. And they're able to get away with these types of things because they have money. They have that quiet money. You know what I mean? You got celebrities that, they got a lot of money. You know who they are. They're always on TMZ. They're everywhere. But then you got those people who have so much money, you never know what their names are.
Right. They don't say much. They keep a very low profile.
Mm-hmm. And those are the people that are running things. And those are the scary people. So
yeah.
Again, this is a case that started with embezzlement and fraud, and then all of a sudden turns into a sex trafficking scandal. So, Paul Bonacci, this is the teenager who was arrested, said that he was at these parties. He actually said that he was a recruiter for them, that he would recruit other children and teens into this. You know, he befriended them and whatever, and he would help them, you know, procure new bodies, basically. And his lawyer, which is John DeCamp, he was actually employed by the CIA as well. So you hear FBI, CIA, all the way through this. All the way through this, you hear about the FBI and the CIA and how they just kept a lid on this. Well, John DeCamp, he actually wrote a book. He wrote the book, and it's called The Franklin Conspiracy. It's on Amazon for about $7.99. I want to read this book, but I just knew I wasn't gonna have time, and that's when I knew I was in way too deep with this case, because it's like you cut off the head of the hydra and another one grows and another one grows and another. You're like, when does this stop?
Yeah.
When does this stop? So John DeCamp writes the book on this. He takes it to his superiors, and they're basically like, let it go.
I gotta read
let
the
it
book.
go. Yeah, they're like, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Because this goes higher than what you think. Let it go.
Right.
This was right around the time where Gary Cardori, the guy who the plane went down, he's doing this. Yeah. So when some of the highest people in your organization tell you, it's not safe, let this go, then you know that you're onto something for real.
Yeah.
And when you say it goes higher than you think, there's only one place that gets higher than what you think, and that's the White House.
I was just going to say, there's only one place left to go. That's that building over there.
Right. And currently, our current, I can't even say commander-in-chief. What can I call him today? I can't even call him the Cheeto. Trying to think of something descriptive.
Oh, geez.
Well, let's just, for the sake of time, let's just say the Cheeto-in-chief is smack dab in the middle of a sex scandal. This man has been in a sex scandal before the election, and somehow he still made it to the White House.
He was in there way before then. He was in there way before he hit the White House.
I mean, you see pictures, you have people saying the things that he said. There's recordings of things that he said. He owned the Miss America pageant, and he used to go into the dressing room when these ladies were in there.
Yes.
If you see the pictures of him and his daughter Ivanka,
kiss.
She all on his lap. Now I don't know about other cultures. I can't say, but I know
what
in
your
my
mama tell
experience, don't be sitting on nobody.
I wish you would sit in some man lap.
Girl, I am 42. Well, last week I said 35 plus shipping and handling. I'm gonna stick with that. And I won't sit in somebody's lap now. I mean, I know I spread a little bit like hot peanut butter, but I still ain't gonna be sitting in nobody's lap because it's that taboo. Yes. In our community, like you don't sit on someone's lap, especially when you're a teenager and you sit in a grown. Even if that's your daddy, you could sit on the side of that chair. You get a good church hug like this, like, "Hey, Unc, hey."
Definitely ain't listen to nobody.
He was taking his daughter to parties with who? Jeffrey Epstein. Now, of course, Jeffrey Epstein had the billionaire procure of girls for everybody.
For everyone.
Famous for these parties, famous for what he was doing, and it was an open secret. Everyone talks about Harvey
What do you call it?
Weinstein.
It's an open secret. Wow,
Yes,
that's
it's an open secret. Like,
good. Everyone
everybody
knows
it,
but
but
you're
no
not
one
supposed
talks about it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's good.
So, there was a couple years ago when the Me Too movement started, and it was about Harvey Weinstein and, all the things that he was doing. And I have varied opinions about that, but we ain't gonna talk about that because I'm gonna make some people mad. But
Don't ask my opinion. Don't ask my opinion. Please don't.
I'm gonna just say,
Don't ask my opinion about him or Bill Cosby. Do not, because you're not gonna like what I got to say.
I'm gonna just say, when you want something, and you want something really bad,
right,
and you accept behavior in order to get that, you are just as much at fault as the victimizer. You have made yourself you have made yourself party to your own victimization. And I'm not talking about girls and children. I'm talking about grown ass women. And again, I understand some people won't appreciate my opinion. But if I want this job, and that interviewer says you have to sleep with me in order to get this job, I have two options. I don't really need this job that bad. I really do thank you for your time, and I gotta go. Or the other option is, okay, because I want this job.
Thank you.
And one of the things that, see, now we're off on something else, but I gotta say it.
Let's go. Okay.
And this probably is for the grown women, not for the girls, for the grown women involved with Jeffrey Epstein. You want your career so bad. You wanted something, and I don't know what it is, but you wanted something so bad. And this may not be true for everybody. So I just want to say that. But in my opinion, and I'm entitled to it, you traded yourself for this thing. And now that this thing is gone, you want revenge because your thing ran out.
It's no more.
So the thing that you traded yourself for this thing that is not endless, it is not infinite. You got old, boo. You ran out your welcome. You are no longer needed. You are no longer trendy. So you can't find work. You can't do this. You've been blackballed at that. And now, I was assaulted, I was raped, and I'm not saying anything about anyone who was sexually assaulted. Trust me, I'm not. Because it doesn't matter if you traded for it, what you did for it, it's wrong. But what I'm saying is,
right,
you can't make yourself a victim.
It's strictly for adult women who have the option. That's what these are the adult who have the option.
These are grown-ass women. Grown-ass women. I don't give a shit if you're gullible. That's not my problem. And that seems to be like an excuse for all of this. Oh, they were naive and gullible. So?
We all we all have been naive and gullible. One point, but I can't sit there and go and accuse everybody, that I was an idiotic and said yes to it, and that they did something to me because I was gullible. That's my fault.
What you do? You charge it to the game.
Take L.
You charge it to the game. Because then you have to say,
take the L.
What did I do to put myself here?
Yes.
Not the action that the other person took, but what did I do to put myself in this position to be taken advantage of? And then don't do that. So we'll have to talk about all that on another episode. We could just rant. But anyway, with Jeffrey Epstein, I do believe that for the grown-ass women, this billionaire, good-looking billionaire wants to take you to these parties, and he wants to do this, and he wants to do that. And
introduce you to the elite.
Introduce you to the elite. And then they pass you around like a blunt at a backyard barbecue. And you know what happens to the end of the blunt? They smash that on the floor. It's no longer useful. I can no longer get high off of that. And then you create this thing. And then they start procuring. One of the interviews I just watched now, they're no longer useful. Now, one of the things that I just watched was Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's her name. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced, even though it's spelled differently. One of the people said that, and I'll post this, just at least that's that part, because it struck me wrong, that she used to be like, at schools and stuff, and she would write her name down and give the kids the girls their number. And some of the girls had braces, and then she would ask Ghislaine, like, what are you doing? She said, oh, I'm, recruiting for models. She's like, but they have braces. Like, what models have braces? And then she said, and then I would see them at the parties. So the problem with that statement that the lady gave, and I'm going to send that to you. The problem with that statement is this. If you knew that this lady was recruiting these teenage girls, these teeny bopper girls, and then you saw them at these adult parties, why are you just now speaking up and talking about it? Why were you so comfortable being in a room with these grown ass men and teeny boppers?
Chad almost threw a dollar at you.
Why?
I almost threw a dollar at him.
This is why this thing goes on.
How are you comfortable? Jackie's not going to be comfortable. Who let them in there? Who brought the baby here?
Who kids?
Who that? Who child is that?
I'm gonna be like, baby, what you need? Going upstairs, grown folks down here. What did you? Going back upstairs, grown folks. Grown folks is talking. It's crazy, and we unfortunately we are in a culture that we celebrate any sort of celebrity. And we don't want to believe that people who are rich and powerful need to do anything like this. But here's the problem. People who are rich and powerful are just as human as we are, but they have money and they have power. So just like the Chester that lives at the end of the block, and you tell your kid, don't go down there in that cul-de-sac. Don't mess with it. Don't mess with Mr. Lee Chester down there. Where them kids at?
Don't play with him like that.
Yeah, after family reunion, they'll be like, where them kids at? Oh, Uncle Leroy took them to somebody go get them kids. Somebody go. These are the same type people, but they have money and they have power. And they are able to exploit. And they're able to wave their dollars in front of the victims as well as the victims' families, in front of, wave it at police and public officials to make things go away. You look the other way.
Yes.
This is what happens. This is why this Omaha, Nebraska is such a hotbed, or at that time was such a hotbed for this type of activity, because it's quiet there. Who are these kids going to report this to? Who are they going to report it to? Who are they going to tell? Now, you go to someplace like here in Dallas, you got neighbors all over the place. You got all these people, all these different agencies, schools and stuff that you can tell. But if the school administrators, the mayor, the sheriff, the guy who runs the newspaper, if all of these people are involved, then it doesn't go any further than that. And nowadays we have Al Gore's internet, and we can all it takes is Twitter. All it takes is Instagram, reels on Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to use. Go live and you tell your story. I mean, we see people get murdered on Facebook Live. Yes. So now you can use your phone and social media to get these things out. But during that time, there was nothing there. And even with social media, this shit still happens. And it's, like you said earlier, this is so sad and crazy that you can drop your kid off at the playground or daycare and you come back and they're not there. And the first, one of the things that's going to go through your head is, are they being trafficked? I have this beautiful child. Yeah. This child could be trafficked. Are they trendy right now? Are they looking for this type of little boy or little girl?
Yeah. That's
exactly. One of my theories, and again, this is down the rabbit hole because that's all this case is just a giant rabbit hole, is when they first started kidnapping the kids through ICE. When ICE first started kidnapping these kids, and that's exactly what happened. They kidnapped them. They lost 1,500 kids. Lost. No records. We don't know where we put them. We don't know where foster homes we put them in. You know why you don't know? Because in my opinion, you sold them. You have.
That's why.
A whole plethora of kids to choose from. And there's nothing that anyone can do about it. We don't know where they are. We took them for their own safety. And they're just lost.
Mm-hmm. They're gone. They've been sold.
So this is something that is continual. This sex trafficking thing is not, it's not Leicester down the road. It's not Leicester down the road. It's these high-powered people. You got Prince Andrew from England is running from the media right now. He is running. This is Queen Elizabeth's second son is running because he had frequent trips to the pedo island. Former President Bill Clinton was a visitor at the pedo island. Was it Chuck Schumer?
I found that going down. Oh, I found that going down the rabbit hole.
Right.
Found that about.
There's a picture of him kissing a little girl in the mouth.
Yes. It's so many. So
think about the scandals with the mega church preachers. Y'all, they are in bed with the politician, these high-powered people. I'm just waiting for everything to pop open and all these skeletons' bones start to fall out. Jerry Falwell Jr. was just now, this is not a sex scandal, but he was just took a picture with his pants open. You a preacher on a boat. What is you doing? Talking about he had a drink with some whiskey in it, talking about this black water. Is it the blood of Jesus? Then you don't need to be drinking it, Mr. Falwell. It's just, this is nuts, y'all. I will post as many of these videos, links to the videos on Facebook. Hopefully I might be able to get them on Instagram as well. Yeah. But of this, so you can see how deeply this goes. And it's like, it started with Larry King, and then you almost forget that Larry King is a part of it because he was never indicted for any of this.
Yeah.
So if you hear that name, you're just like, oh, he committed fraud. No, but he was never indicted on any of this. Like, so you almost lose his connection because there's so much more. And when you establish that first connection, if this in 1988 and prior to that went all the way to the White House, to the Reagan White House, then you know that those same connections still exist with those same people and their kids, their relatives, their cronies, their colleagues, and it's still ongoing, as proof when the Cheeto in chief is always saying to Ghislaine Maxwell, I wish her well. Why are you wishing a pedophile well? You won't say rest in peace to John Lewis, but you can wish a pedophile well. He said that he wouldn't.
He said, I don't know him.
I don't know him like that. But you can't just give some human kindness and grace to this man, but you grant mercy to a pedophile?
That's his people. Them his peoples.
Right. Right.
They all run together. They all hang together. They all are, I mean.
You wishing her well because you don't want her to talk about you.
Right. Don't say nothing about me.
But I mean, again, we got pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey didn't make it. I don't know if Ms. Maxwell gonna make it either. I think 2020 will claim her as well. I don't think she gonna, because they keep moving her around from facility to facility. But yeah, I don't think she's gonna make it to the point where she's able to testify for anything.
No. So, because they have to tell on everybody.
And that's exactly what they don't want.
She gonna a situation, because if it comes to sink or swim, I don't care how much money they've offered you. You gonna swim and you gonna tell whatever you feel you need to the regular folks who act like we, who aren't involved, the jury that's sitting up there who don't really know. The judge may know, everybody may know, but them. And I promise it's up to them, and we gonna sink. I gotta sink or swim. She gonna tell me. She gonna sing. Who's she gonna sing? It's gonna be quite the noise.
Yes.
Yeah. It's gonna hit it.
So yes. So I guess we can go ahead, and I think we've been on for about an hour or a little bit more than an hour. So again, this show, guys, is pre-recorded. So, and it's the same day, so it is still Thursday, the 6th. Today's the 6th. But we just wanted to do this a little bit earlier to avoid schedule conflicts. So we'll try to get this uploaded really soon to both pages, and that way you all can see it. And then once it's uploaded, Jesus words, once it is uploaded, we'll jump into the comments. So if you have comments, we'll be able to interact in real time. So again, thank you, Jackie. We are going to go ahead and go have some libation. Well, not me. I don't know if I told you. I started fasting 3 days a week.
Yay.
For 24 hours each time.
Beast mode.
24 hours. So my 24 hours started at 6 o'clock today. So I won't be able to eat until 6 o'clock tomorrow. Actually around 4, because I stopped eating at 4. I ate at 4. So I ate at 4 o'clock today. So I won't be able to eat until at least 4 o'clock tomorrow. And I do that 3 days a week.
But if you're trying to get some results.
I'm trying to do something. But, so I'll be drinking some more water or some more tea. But Jackie's probably going to go have some libations. Have some libations on my behalf. But we do want to thank you guys for showing up. Be safe this week. Be blessed and have another cup. So Jackie, I will see you next week, and we'll find out Monday what we're going to talk about next. So,
bye.
Good night. Good night.